Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to Canal Algérie's nightly news. On to the headlines. The President of the Republic appoints Zuhair Bouamama as advisor to the President of the Republic in charge of political affairs, relations with the youth, civil society and political parties. The Islamic Development Bank Group's annual meetings, presided by the Prime Minister, continue. Islamic finance, digital innovation and sustainable development at the heart of the meetings. Army General Saïd Chingriha, Minister Delegate to the Minister of National Defense, Chief of Staff of the People's National Army, commences an inspection and work visit to the 3rd Military Region. As for the works of the 3rd meeting of Ministers of Foreign Affairs of the African Union and European Union, Foreign Affairs Minister Ahmed Attaf is in Brussels, where roundtables are scheduled to discuss peace and security. And finally, Morocco is once again accused of welcoming Zionist soldiers involved in the crimes committed against Palestinian paramedics in Rafah, and the UN denounces this unacceptable complicity. Welcome back. We begin with Night's top story as the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, signed today a presidential decree appointing Zuhair Bouamama as advisor to the President of the Republic in charge of political affairs, relations with the youth, civil society and political parties. In other developments, the Premier Nadir Al-Arbawi chaired the government meeting today to review a regulatory framework establishing 2 agencies respectively responsible for imports and exports, as well as their organization and operation, in accordance with the instructions of the President of the Republic regarding the organization of foreign trade. As part of the continued implementation of the approach to improve the management of economic land under the private domain of the state, the government reviewed the regulatory framework defining the conditions and modalities for granting concessions convertible into transfers for land under the private domain of the state intended for the realization of commercial real estate development projects. In addition, the government listened to a presentation on the progress of the national program to strengthen grain storage capacity aimed at increasing national capacity from 4 to 9 million tons. The government also listened to a presentation on the progress of the smartphone investment project, including the mobile phone assembly and manufacturing project in Algeria, which is part of efforts to develop this national industry sector, strengthen its contribution to technology transfer and localization, and integrate national skills, particularly young people, into this initiative. At the Islamic Development Bank Group's annual meetings today, key topics included Islamic finance, digital innovation, and sustainable development, with a focus on Algeria's reforms and new regional partnerships. Coverage by Yamina Saiji, taken up by Ms. Salila Balaman.
Islamic finance, digital transformation, regional integration, and sustainable development were the core themes discussed on the 3rd day of the Islamic Development Bank Group's annual meetings. Conversations focused on strategies to boost economic resilience and inclusive growth across member states.
Today we focused on development financing, highlighting the role of Islamic financial certificates in diversifying Algeria's funding sources. We also discussed how digital transformation can improve access to financial services.
Nous avons traditionnellement des rencontres avec nos partenaires techniques et financiers traditionnels.
We met with long-standing partners like the OPEC Fund, the Saudi Fund for Development, and the ISDB subsidiaries. These talks helped review ongoing cooperation and explore future opportunities.
Ce sont des partenaires réguliers de la banque avec qui on entretient de très bonnes relations depuis de nombreuses années, et donc c'était l'occasion pour nous de faire le point.
Je pense que
These discussions are timely and relevant to global development. They strengthen economic ties among Muslim countries, especially in our context.
Économique entre les pays musulmans, et surtout en ce qui nous concerne.
Experts at the sessions emphasized the importance of Algeria's recent economic reforms, particularly in Islamic finance, to attract investment and drive economic growth.
L'introduction en Algérie des sukuk islamiyat.
Islamic financial certificates were officially introduced in Algeria's 2025 finance law. Now, legal and regulatory frameworks are being adjusted to align with this new type of financing and evolving institutional standards.
Et c'est juste que nos législations et nos textes réglementaires.
For us at the Islamic Bank of Yemen, the topics addressed were of strategic value. We are particularly focused on learning from countries that have faced challenges similar to ours. We also discussed sharing expertise and building partnerships rooted in Islamic financial principles.
The day concluded with the signing of several cooperation and financing agreements, reflecting a concrete commitment to implementing development projects. Through these partnerships, the Islamic Development Bank and its member states aim to turn economic recovery plans into real actionable outcomes.
As part of his visits to various military regions, Army General Said Chingriha, Deputy Minister to National Defense and Chief of Staff of the People's National Army, began a work-in and inspection visit to the 3rd Military Region. Manan Maafa with the full story.
The visit began at the South Tindouf operational sector, where, following the welcome ceremony presided over by Major General Nasr ad-Din Fodil, commander of the 3rd Military Region, the Army General Said Chingriha held an orientation meeting with the region's officers and personnel. During this meeting, he delivered an address that was broadcast via video conference to all units of the region. In his speech, he emphasized the special importance he places on the execution of tactical exercises which serve as a true measure of personnel's combat readiness and their proficiency in handling acquired equipment and weapons systems.
لطالما كان تمرس المقاتل في الحروب.
The Army General said that the professionalism of the soldier has always been a decisive factor in times of war, reflecting the readiness of the forces and their ability to fulfill assigned missions. He addressed that individual performance, discipline, and adaptability to changing battle conditions are essential qualities for leading the force to victory.
يندرج حرصنا المستمر على إجراء التمارين التكتيكية المختلفة المستويات.
He further added that this is why special importance is given to conducting tactical exercises at various levels, as they serve as a real test not only for the training system which shapes skills, but also for combat preparation, which strengthens experience, professionalism, and mastery of available equipment and weapons systems.
أفراد في العتاد ومنظومات الأسلحة المختلفة الموجودة في الحوزة.
The Army General emphasized the need to coordinate all efforts as well as the mobilized material and human resources to safeguard national sovereignty and ensure the security of the country and its citizens.
من هذا المنظور فإنني ألح دوما على أن تكون درجة التطور المحقق في كافة.
He said that efforts are made to ensure the progress in all areas of the military profession across our armed forces aligns with the resources mobilized and the ambitious goals set, particularly in building military strength capable of defending the nation, safeguarding our sacred sovereignty, and protecting the country's security and vital interests.
عن الوطن والمواطنين وحفاظا على سيادتنا الوطنية المقدسة وأمن بلادنا ومصالحها العليا.
The Army General then attentively listened to the concerns and suggestions of the personnel of the 3rd Military Region before providing them with a series of recommendations and general guidelines. At the end of the visit, the Army General laid the foundation stone for the construction of a 240-bed military hospital in Hassi Ammar Tindouf, aimed at providing improved healthcare services for military personnel and their beneficiaries. Also in Hassi Ammar Tindouf, he inaugurated a garrison club, inspected its facilities, and received detailed briefings on the social and recreational services offered by the establishment.
In the diplomacy window of tonight, the Minister of State of Foreign Affairs, the National Community Abroad and African Affairs, Ahmed Attaf, took part this Wednesday in Brussels in the proceedings of the third meeting of the Ministers of Foreign Affairs of the African Union and the European Union. This meeting constituted an opportunity for a global evaluation of the extent of the implementation of the outcomes of the 6th Summit of the African Union and the European Union, held February 2022, in addition to a set of dossiers related to peace, security and governance, multilateralism, achieving prosperity and people's migration, and the movement of persons, with the aim of examining ways to strengthen the partnership between the African Union in these areas. On this occasion, Minister Attaf highlighted 3 dangerous factors that have come to shape the African peace and security landscape: the alarming speed of hotbeds of tension, crisis, and conflicts across the continent, the transformation of Africa and the Sahel region into a hotbed of global terrorism, and the weak performance of collective diplomacy in its inability to keep peace, the worsening situation in the African continent. Attaf stressed the urgent need to inject new vitality into the African-European partnership in the field of peace and security, ensuring it contributes to restoring the role of diplomacy in resolving crisis in Africa and supports African Union peacekeeping operations, and invests more in consolidating stability through development as the best and most effective way to achieve lasting sustainable peace in Africa and the world. On the sidelines of his participation in the proceedings of the third meeting of the Ministers of Foreign Affairs of the African Union and the European Union, Minister of State Ahmed Attaf met with the High Representative of the EU for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, Kaya Kallas. The discussions provided an opportunity to review the various aspects of the cooperation and coordination relations between Algeria and the European Union, with a view to reactivating the institutional mechanisms governing the Algerian-European partnership. The two parties also discussed a revision of the association agreement between Algeria and the EU, allowing this partnership in its economic aspects, before exchanging views and analysis on a number of current issues, chief among them development in the situation in Libya, a brotherly country in particular, as well as tensions in the Sahel region in general. Ahmed Attaf also held bilateral talks with the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Federal Republic of Germany, Johann Wattful. During the meeting, Ahmed Attaf renewed congratulations to his German counterpart on the occasion of his appointment as Minister of Foreign Affairs of his country, and evoked the different aspects of the cooperation and friendship relations binding Algeria and Germany ahead of the upcoming bilateral events. Both ministers also discussed regional and international issues of common interest. The Minister of State, Minister of Energy, Mines and Renewable Energies, Mohammed Arqab, received this Wednesday a high-level delegation composed of the heads of Omani businesses, topped by Sheikh Mohammed Al Barwani, who is the president of the board of directors of the group Mohammed Al Barwani Holding. This meeting is part of the growing momentum in Algerian-Omani relations, particularly following the visit of the President of the Republic to the Sultanate of Oman, which paved the way for expanding economic partnerships between the two countries, particularly in the energy, mining and renewable energy sectors. In this context, Arqab presented the overall vision of this sector, highlighting the major development programs underway. For his part, Sheikh Mohammed Al Barwani expressed his group's interest in investing in the hydrocarbon sector and to expand its activities into other areas, highlighting the significant potential offered by Algeria in the energy, mining and natural resources sector. The Secretary of State to the Minister of Energy in charge of renewable energies, Noureddin Yassa, took part in the proceedings of the second day of the World Hydrogen Summit in Rotterdam, the Netherlands, where he met with the co-chair of the European Hydrogen Network and the Deputy Minister of Industry, Mines and Energy of the Republic of Namibia, Nordin Yasa also participated in the ministerial roundtable organized by the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, where he presented Algeria's vision for developing the green hydrogen market at the global level. On the sidelines of these events, Yasa held important bilateral meetings with several of Algeria's active partners from the Sultanate of Oman, Australia, and Japan, during which Yasa reviewed opportunities for cooperation in hydrogen projects. On to this communiqué by the National Defense Ministry. As part of the fight against terrorism during the search and sweep operation in the Amruna area of Ain Difla military sector in the 1st military region, a detachment of the PNA shot dead Tuesday one terrorist and recovered a Simonov-type semi-automatic weapon and a quantity of ammunition. This operation, which is still ongoing, confirms once again the vigilance and determination of the forces of the PNA to hunt down these criminals until their final eradication. On to another communiqué by the same source, the National Defense Ministry, on the People's National Army's activity in the past week. In the context of the fight against terrorism, and thanks to the efforts of the detachment of the PNA, shot down in Khinshla and Ain Difla 3 terrorists and recovered 4 Kalashnikov submachine guns, a Simonov semi-automatic pistol, quantity of ammunition and other items, while other detachments of the PNA arrested 10 support elements to terrorist groups in different operations across the national territory. In the framework of the fight against organized crime, the continuation of the tireless efforts aimed at countering the scourge of drug trafficking in our country, combined detachments of the PNA intercepted in coordination with the different security services in operations across the military regions 53 drug traffickers and averted attempts to introduce 2 quintals and 4 kilograms of processed key through the borders with Morocco, while 30.40 kilograms of cocaine and over 175,000 psychotropic tablets were seized during separate operations across the military regions. In Tamil Mukhtar in Saleh and Ingizam, detachments of the People's National Army arrested 139 individuals and seized 25 vehicles, 335 generators, 138 jackhammers, as well as quantities of mixture of raw gold and stones, explosives, detonation tools, and other equipment used in illegal gold mining operations. On the other hand, 20 other individuals were arrested for Kalashnikov submachine guns, a sniper rifle, 1 automatic pistol, 12 hunting rifles, and over 4,100 liters of fuel were seized during separate operations across the national territory. Similarly, Border Guard sorted at the level of our national codes, attempted illegal immigration, and proceeded to save 65 individuals aboard traditionally made boats, while 299 illegal immigrants of different nationalities were arrested across the national territory. End communiqué. In Dili, Timor-Leste, the 24th Committee on Decolonization convened in support of Western Sahara, with Algeria and delegations from Africa, Asia, and South America backing the right to self-determination. Salila Balaman.
The choice of Dili, Timor-Leste's capital, as the venue for addressing the Western Sahara issue during the 24th Committee on Decolonization is deeply symbolic. The presence of President José Ramos Horta, a prominent figure in Timor-Leste's independence movement, reinforced the significance of the moment. He urged the committee to intensify efforts to bring the global decolonization agenda to completion. This sends a powerful message of solidarity with liberation struggles worldwide, especially with Western Sahara, the last remaining colony in Africa, where the fight for self-determination remains unresolved. Algeria participated with a prominent delegation, joining countries from different continents, notably Africa, Asia, and Latin America, that share a firm stance in support of people's rights to choose their own destiny. Reaffirming its consistent position, Algeria once again voiced its strong and unwavering backing for the Sahrawi people and their just pursuit of independence and freedom.
In Gaza, the Zionist entity committed dozens of massacres against innocent civilians, most of which are women and children. At least 82 people were killed on Wednesday. Zionist forces even fired warning shots at a delegation of international diplomats visiting Jenin in the occupied West Bank. As global awareness grows around the atrocities in Gaza, Morocco faces backlash for hosting Zionist soldiers allegedly involved in the killing of 15 Palestinian aid workers in Rafah. The UN has condemned the move, calling it unacceptable complicity. Amina Sifta and Menan Maafa.
Morocco's growing normalization with the Zionist entity is drawing sharp criticism, with accusations of ignoring Palestinian rights. The UN's Francesca Albanese called it unacceptable after Moroccan authorities reportedly hosted Zionist soldiers linked to deadly attacks on Palestinian aid workers. In her tweet, she said that if confirmed, this would mark a new breach of the international obligation to investigate and prosecute those involved in such atrocities. She urged the Moroccan authorities to uphold the rule of law as the world is watching. This week, Zionist forces accused of involvement in the killing of 15 Palestinian aid workers in Gaza are reportedly taking part in the annual African Lion military exercise organized by the United States in partnership with several African nations, including Morocco. The event brings together over 8,000 troops for joint training, yet among them are individuals allegedly tied to grave war crimes. Morocco's joint exercises with the Zionist entity forces highlight troubling issues. They suggest complicity in Gaza's destruction, raise doubts about Morocco's sovereignty, since no true democracy would host troops accused of war crimes like the Golani Brigade, and reveal the country's alignment with the Zionist interests and their leaders lacking real independent power.
دول العالم دول الديمقراطية لا يمكنها أن تستضيف هؤلاء المجرمين.
On March 23rd in Rafah, 15 Palestinian aid workers in clearly marked ambulances were killed, their bodies discovered in mass graves with hands tied and fatal head injuries. The shocking images sparked global outrage and condemnation from international organizations for blatant violations of international law.
The end of our news. Thank you for joining us. Good night.